Hey guys, welcome to my second podcast here. I know that I've been talking about wanting to do a video, a talk about grief, because I see a lot of people talking a lot about how it really has a huge effect on their lives. You might even say, kind of controlling their lives. Um, and of course, there's all forms of grief. One of them mainly being when we lose a loved one, too soon, or those kind of things. And how it's tied into anxiety, and possibly even depression, I'm sure. Um, but I want to speak from my heart here. Nothing's written down about grief. It's really all coming from here. And I also want to make sure that I don't minimize anybody's grief and their process and what they're going through. So my intention here is to talk about grief, the process of grief, and how to use really, again, it's about empowering ourselves so that we're not staying in this vibration of grief. So, um, we all know what grief is. When we have a loss within our lives, whether it's a relationship, somebody who passed away that we loved, obviously it's very tough when it's a close one. Our mother, our father, brothers, sisters, and and again, the purpose of this video is to empower you to not to move away from thinking about the loved ones or to move away from what we've experienced, but it's to not go through the suffering um, like we do year after year. And there really is no time limit on grieving. Um, but I do know that if we stay in grieving too long, it really wreaks havoc on our lives, and in turn, is wreaking havoc on our bodies and our thoughts and our happiness and joy and those kind of things. So, like I said, I don't want to minimize, grief at all, but I just feel like we just have to, I guess, go back to the understanding that grief is a process, and processes maybe I don't want to say they don't end or they shouldn't end, uh, but I believe if we want to again be empowered, we do want to go through this process, allow it to happen, and also realize there's light at the end of the tunnel, and that we can live our lives joyfully. So I guess with that, we want to think about things um, that life is um, it flows this way. We do realize that we come into this life. We have parents and family and friends um, and that and that these things do happen, and we know that we don't live forever. We do know that that things can happen in our lives to sometimes we know they're coming, sometimes they're unexpected, which is obviously very very difficult. So that's why we have to go to, again, we don't have to, I just want to stop myself and say that, but um, authentic power for me is going to the higher understanding, and and our true selves, our soul, our path, our, excuse me, just the fact that we know it's a process of life, really, and that grieving for too long causes suffering. Um, like I said, it's not that we can't, but it's tough. It really is. Um, I lost my mom when I was 26 years old, and I grew up with an alcoholic mother, and it was just kind of like just something I was just it was just my life, something that I just saw all the time, and it was just I didn't really know any different. But when I was getting into my 20s, um, 23, 24, 25, in that area, I started to realize that there was definitely things happening here, as far as the alcohol, um, that she couldn't keep going this way. I knew that she could not keep on going this way, and I felt like at the time, because I was aware of it, I was aware that you cannot keep drinking that way, and uh, and and some people do go a long time drinking, and but I just knew that what was happening here with my mother, it was going to catch up. So I started to mentally prepare myself for a loss, and I guess you might even say that I was grieving before it even happened, because again I was aware that this was happening, and that at some point it was going to fall apart. There was no way that this person, my mother, who was drinking the way she was drinking, and again everything was, her world was crumbling down. So I guess I felt for myself, and I don't know if I even put much thought into it. I think I was just something that I was conscious of, something I was starting to talk about. I was even telling my brother, hey, we have to start preparing ourselves that something could happen to our mother. And sure enough, it did. Around when I was about 26, this was back in 1999, um, I got the phone call that as a police officer saying you needed to come to my mother's house, and I just knew right there and then that something happened, and most likely that she had passed away, and of course that's what happened. So for me at the time, I had to go through the process, and I'm even talking about this as I'm even thinking about this as I'm talking about it, and again, I think I did kind of grieve beforehand, because I kind of realized that it was going that way. So throughout my years, I have always, and even my family kind of did this. We always kind of like celebrated life, and I don't want to say we didn't mourn life, but um, I really think that we do have that choice, to to, and of course we all have to mourn, absolutely. Um, but in my family, I feel like we all have always kind of like celebrated life. At least that's the process that I can't speak for everybody else in my family, but it was always just okay. You know, this is part of life. Um, things do happen, people do go, and again, we're all gonna experience it. Whatever way we're going to experience it. But for me, I always, wanted to celebrate her life. And of course, even to this day, I still miss her very much. But I have always kept a picture of my mother on the refrigerator. And, I say good morning to her. And so I really feel like, I live like she's still here, and even though I know she's not, I truly feel, and even since my spiritual path opened up for me the past 5 years, I believe this, even more, that I can talk to her, and even though she's not in the non-physical, the physical, she's in the non-physical, and and that she still hears me, and that she still, and that she guides me. So I'm living as if it's not something that is way out here somewhere, that she's somewhere that I don't realize and I don't know. So I feel like that our you know our loved ones are still around us. So this is where, and I guess for over the years, nothing has ever like hit me as I've been holding anything back, or again, because I feel like I've been living out all the years as if I accepted what happened. As tragic as it is, my mother was only 45 years old. She was young. So she it was 6 years younger than I am currently. So it was just way too young. But I just feel like for whatever reason that was, um, you know, just it's just the way her story went. But of course, we have to move on. We have to continue. Okay. So, and if, especially your mom, it is a huge loss because that's what I always say. Women are the glue of life. Women, I feel like hold, you know, uh, life together. And if it wasn't for women, things would fall apart. So, not that's not to say that men aren't important. Men are obviously very important, uh, but women really kind of glue things together and pull things together. So I do feel, that I wish I still had that in my life, that my mom was here because I do lack a lot of things, in my life. I feel because my mother is not here. Um, but it's not something that I think about a lot and that I feel like is holding me back. And I'm sure it does because, like I said, moms seem to really hold families together, and uh, you know, that's what women do. They really pull families together. They pull, uh, just women are just it's just beautiful in that way. That's how women are. So when your mom's not around, a lot of that gets lost. But um, but and for me, I think about, okay, if this is the process of life, and our loved ones move on, and they're watching over us, I feel like the last thing they would want us to do is to be suffering for too long. And I think that's where I'm going mainly with talking about grief, is because I think we all know what grief is. We all have experienced grief in so many different ways and stuff like that. But for me, the main of this talk is that we just don't suffer the rest of our lives with grieving, because some people say that grieving never ends. Um, and I'm still not exactly sure about that. I just feel like grieving is just a state. It's just a vibration. It's like when you're floating in grief, you can never move on. And when you're staying in that grief, it's either associated with anxiety, or there's a marriage with the grief, because it comes along with you know why did things go this way, things. And it's really causes the anxiety, because it's like going into the future and the past, which is, past is like depression, because there's a sadness of a loss, and then the thought of the future that they're not there is the anxiety. And when we're I guess when we're either experiencing a lot of anxiety, it just means that we're not being present, and that we're always projecting in the future, that especially when holidays come around, birthdays, is our it's our thoughts that create the suffering. And it's always like, well, why did it go this way? Things should be this way. And it's all this self talk that creates the suffering. And so I really think that it's just how we think about our loss. So when a loss does happen, and again, we don't know how long that takes. It could be weeks, it could be months, it could be you know a year, 2 years. But if we're grieving 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, and we still feel like we're still in grieving, I just don't feel like our family members would want that for us. Because once we go to the other side, I'm a true believer that we're now like, whew, we're out of there, because it is tough being here on earth, because we're experiencing so much, and so much feelings and emotions, and all things we go through. But once we get to the other side, it's um, it, it's different. We return back to source. We return back to just to peace and love, and really like harmony. So I believe that our family members are looking back at us, and they're rooting for us, and they don't want us to suffer the rest of our existence because of the loss. Which is, again, we have to remind ourselves that it is the process of life, you know. Um, and of course, it gets even more difficult when we lose a child, because that seems to go against the process that, um, obviously, mother, child, parents go, and then children, follow. But I think that, and again, which makes it more difficult, but we have to start to look at everything as purposeful and, not purposeful. Things happen for a reason. And I actually never used to believe that. I never used to believe that things, happen for a reason, and things that were purposeful. If we do lose, a child, okay, well, what could be the purpose of that? Um, and it may not be for the child. It may be for the family members. Maybe with the loss of a child, there's something that the mom can learn, that the father can learn, that the people in the immediate family can learn about life and about loss, um, and and maybe reflect on our lives to see how we've been moving through life. You know how have we been? Have we been, anxiety our whole lives, depression our whole lives, and how we can start to move out of these energies, out of these vibrations, out of this, resonance, which is suffering. So that's why I love to just have these talks, especially about the everyday struggles that we all go through. And again, empowering ourselves to realize that our loved ones don't want this for us, and again, they're rooting for us. And of course, also, we want to show our children that when we go, that we don't want them to suffer, because again, it's the circle of life, and so again, we either kind of previously might have had anxiety about all of this, not anxiety about this, but anxiety in general, and then when somebody dies, it can like just tenfold our anxiety. um, or we can move into the anxiety after we lose somebody, because we're grieving for so long, and we're anxiety because we feel like, why did this happen to me? Why am I suffering this loss? So that's why I kind of talked about my mother, a little bit, was that I had just chosen my life to celebrate her life, and like I said, it doesn't mean I don't miss her. I'm never really like in agony over it, or those kind of things, because I think I started to, um, see that this was happening before she even passed away. And of course, this is going back, 25 years now. Um, so, and like I said, I still wish that she was here and to see my kids. And I have three kids, and she only met, my first son Joshua. She never got to meet Jamie, never got to meet Rain. And I really wish she had. I don't want to say especially Rain, but Rain's my only daughter, and I would have loved my mother to have met her granddaughter, and to have that kind of relationship with my mom. And again, even Jamie, of course. Um, but she did know about Jamie, which was really awesome. She knew Jamie was coming. She was actually planning on having a baby shower, small. It was going to be my grandmother and my aunt, and my ex-wife Marie, and she was planning on having a little baby shower for her, because Jamie was coming, but unfortunately, she didn't make it. She died like, I think about 4 or 5 months before he was born. But like I said, she did realize it. So I would just really love to. And if anybody ever wants to talk to me about grief and wants to contact me, this is what I love doing. I love to help others to because I know people don't want to stay in grief, because, or maybe you've been in it for so long that you don't even know anything different. You just know that you miss your mom or you miss your dad, and that you just wish they were here. And it's really starting to get tools and to learn tools of how to, I don't want to say end the grieving process, but to not feel like you're staying in this grieving process your whole life, because they don't want that for you. I don't want that for you. And your kids don't want that for you. Your family members don't want that for you. Because I know some people really, really suffer because, I see people who put their posts on Facebook talking, about how much they miss their family member. And I so get that, but I just feel like it absolutely keeps them in that anxiety and that suffering. So, I feel like it's part of that self love too. It's part of that self love to say, okay, I do accept what happened. I know that my mother is, or my father, or whoever is in our life, I know I'm going to return to them. I know that we reconnect with them, and which a lot of people, a lot of us understand that we do feel like we're going to be going to, what we call heaven, and that we're going to be returning, to our family members, and that we will reunite again, and I absolutely believe that. And I believe in reincarnation, those kind of things. So I feel like we've done this over and over with our soul groups. But like I said, if anybody ever wants to reach out and talk to me, because I feel like either life coaching, and I call it spiritual life coaching, because again, I always like to use the spiritual aspect, because I really think it's just our most our best way to. That's why I call it the authentic power podcast, because it's our true power is that authentic power, which is coming from the perspective of the soul, of the spirit, of love, of God, of universe, of all that is, whatever you want to call it. And it's just that this isn't the end. This is just an experience, and and that we do always again reunite. So the idea is, how can we spend the rest of our time here, accepting, and just knowing that it's all okay, and that we can talk to our loved ones, and again, they hear us, and if we don't know how to move out of the suffering, if we don't know how to, I can help, but I'm also a believer in putting it out there, and asking for help, and talking to our guides, and talking to our loved ones, because I you know I do believe when we ask, it is given, and we will receive that help, um, in due time. It may not, I don't think it'll even take that long, but it's really putting that intention out that I don't want to suffer anymore. I don't want to think about, not that you won't think about the past, but I want to always keep my thoughts in the positive and keep my thoughts flowing. Um, it's really saying, hey, I know my loved one would not want me to uh, to be hurting this bad. And again, it doesn't take away any of this, as far as it's okay if it's really really hard on us. It's okay if we're crying, and which is releasing and letting go. But when we have a hard time with that process, that's when it starts to create depression, create anxiety, because like I said, also, it's that looking back to the sadness of the past, as much as we do, that creates the deep sadness. And that's why with depression, we need deep rest from the character that we've been playing, because that's what it really is that we're it's part of it all, but it's like we're playing this character, and this character comes along with a story, and that story comes along with all kinds of stuff, sadness, anxieties, all the stories. And if we look at our life that it should have turned out a certain way, or it should be a certain way, it causes sadness, and then it causes frustration, and then it causes anger about the past. And again, I think that next level is if we have these thoughts constantly, it turns into a depression. And where the anxiety is coming from is the not knowing how the future is going to look. Excuse me. And again, it's us feeling like it should be and should look a certain way. So that's why we have to try as much as possible to learn these, learn some of these tools that can help us. But we have to. That's why I'm a firm believer in meditation and learning meditating, because it teaches us to be in our brain. It teaches us to be present and to be here and now. And in the here and now, we can love our loved ones, know we're returning back to them someday when we have our own process. And um, it just teaches you more to be here and now and not to be in uh, the suffering future, which is, again, unpredictable. And it just, our mind's always creating all kinds of thoughts about that. And, and not that anxiety will, it definitely, over my process over the years of learning to meditate and to be present, my anxiety is not like floating in the background very closely like it always was. It is, it can come in every once in a while if the thoughts start to think about something too much. But very quickly it dissipates, because instead of, like, it's like a snowball effect. And as thoughts start coming in, they slowly, at first it's slow, and then it starts to snowball and compound. And next thing you know, that's when people go into fight or flight, and and you can really have a lot of anxiety about these things. So I don't know if there's too much more to talk about, but like I said, I just really, so, again, because we all know the process, we all know that grieving and what that is. But it's really, the message is just that it's just that the lifetime of suffering is, again, it's a choice. It's a choice. We can say, no, I want to keep thinking the same way, but I just don't believe our loved ones want that for us. So I think there's just the choice to say, you know what, um, for the rest of my time here, I want to heal, and I want to feel better. That's what it is. It's I'm choosing to make my thoughts better feeling thoughts. So that way I can not only create better, feel better, create better, manifest better, but it's really our bodies. When our bodies are in this lower vibration state, because if you look at it like a vibrational chart, it's called the Dawkins scale, okay, which I love because it just shows you, it's a vibration scale, and at the very bottom is anger, shame, guilt, um, all these lower vibrating resonances, okay, that we can be in. And when we're in these lower, we're in fear. We are in just and that's what it is about grief. It's actually a fear state. And when you're in a fear state, your nervous system is in, and I said it wrong on the last podcast, we're in the sympathetic nervous system state, which is the fight or flight, and our system is just not, it's not healthy. And that's why we want to move into the parasympathetic state, which is your body now moving into balance, into coherence, and um, and that's what we deserve. We deserve to for our bodies and our mental health to to be in that state, because when we're in that lower vibration, in the sympathetic nervous system, this is what is causing the depression and the anxiety, because it is part of that realm. So when we start to move our vibration up, and it doesn't mean we forget our loved ones. Like I said, we don't forget our loved ones. We don't forget what happened. It just means that we're choosing not to be in that state anymore. And that goes back to the pool analogy. There's a positive, there's a negative pool, and then there's the positive pool. And over the past 5 years, I have chosen the best I can to dip my feet and swim in the positive pool because life is just better. Um, and so we owe that to ourselves, and like I said, our family members want that for us. So, so with that, I don't think there's much more to be said right now with this podcast. But if anybody ever wants to talk about grief with me personally, like I said, I do spiritual life coaching, and another thing that people know that I do is Reiki, and I call it Reiki because I learned Reiki, but it's 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 really energy healing, and it's just a way that me and a client can come together, and it's the power of two. I'm guiding it, I'm holding the space for it, I'm setting the environment, we're setting the intention, and such profound things can really shift in our lives when we make that choice to heal. And whether it's through, again, even through talking, life coaching, which comes with it anyways. It comes with energy healing, because when somebody comes to me, it's in this room. It's right behind this computer here. I have my Reiki table. I play music. I set the environment. I set the intention, and we run through all your chakras, and we are really moving the energy. So and before we do that, we sit down, we talk, and I get to know a little bit about you. I get to, uh, uh, and read you intuitively, and I can really pick up on all the subtleties of you and your energy, because I'm listening to your words. I'm listening to your body language, and as an empath also, I am in tune with all that. So when I finally do energy healing with you, when I do Reiki with you, I I I I kind of follow the energy, and I intuitively go through, and we move through each chakra of the body. And such amazing things always really happen when I do Reiki, and that's why I really really love it, because everybody that I've ever done Reiki with has always had a really awesome experience. And and one of the things that a lot of people always say that they have, that happens with them, is they see a lot of colors when they're doing when we're having Reiki done on them. And um, I still haven't figured out exactly why they see colors, but I think it has a lot to do with the energy, and a lot of it is the energy and the flow of the spectrum of, because that's what it is. We live a wide spectrum of experiences here, and I think that spectrum is like, it's like a color spectrum. It's almost like a rainbow. It's almost like, you know, um, it's just in a wide variety of experiences. And I think these colors have their own vibrations and their own things, which is just really true, as far as, like, even green. The color green is a very healing color. Um, and so, but certain people see colors, and it just, they've always had great experiences. And I think, because I had Reiki done on me for the first time, 5, 6 years ago, and it really shifted me, and it starts to kind of like, that's why I say when people say yes to me, they're saying yes to themselves, because you're just finally saying, I want to try something. I want to see if I can. For one, people want to feel better. That's what it really is. People are waking up every single day, and they're just not feeling good. It goes back to, you're not empowered. You're suffering, that you're missing something in life, and of course there's all kinds of reasons. We go through, all kinds of stuff that happens to us in our lives. But like I said, anybody ever wants to talk further about grief, talk further about depression, anxiety, healing losses, relationships, um, it's all underneath. It's all within that spectrum, and it's really through, again, like I said, intention, and trying to move this energy. It's a flow state, and you're learning to allow this flow because everything's flowing to us, but we're not necessarily letting it flow through us. Okay, so these things get stuck in our bodies. They're in our minds, but because it's really the thoughts, right? The thoughts create, our brain creates the thought, our thought creates an emotion, and then we feel it in our bodies. Okay, so that's why energy gets stuck in the body, because you don't feel it in the brain, you feel it in your body. So that's why always, 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 everything that we're experiencing is stuck in the body, and this vibration, that's why it pops up. Anxiety, right? So anxiety pops up, and it's really, we have to look at anxiety as a friend and say, okay, something is popping up here, and we keep wanting to stuff it down, push it away, because we don't want to deal with it. We don't want to say, hi, friend, hi, anxiety, what are you trying to show me here? And once you start to say, okay, what are you trying to show me here? That message realizes that it's now being acknowledged, and that we're listening. And then once that message knows it's received, there's no more reason for that message to keep coming back, because it realizes that we're getting it. Okay, so and it is very deep, again, because messages always keep popping back up, because we're here to learn something from it. And that's why even experiences, I believe, can happen in our lives, because it's an experience that is happening to us, because it's on a whole other dimension, a whole other level. It's something that we called in to experience, for us to overcome, to really overcome, and to heal some of these experiences, because it just, I do believe that we come in as part of our blueprint to go through certain experiences. Okay, and we all probably go through certain themes. A lot of us, including myself, worthiness issues. Okay, because I just told you before about my mom, and there's a huge story wrapped around that as a child, because it maybe someday I'll talk about it all, but it wasn't the worst childhood, but it wasn't ideal. There was just a lot of chaos, there was a lot of arguing, there was a lot of fighting, there was a lot of personalities, a lot of narcissism, a lot of just a lot of chaos that just caused havoc, especially because I'm an empath, like I said. And for me, because I take on all these energies, I take on all these things, and I'm so sensitive that I'm very in tune with all these things, that as a child I felt very unsafe in my own body. So it actually moved through my lifetime and my experiences, because I was in the energy of being scared, of feeling unsafe. And when I get into relationships in my life, I don't feel safe. And that's why I've had to do a lot of healing, and I'm continuing to heal. Every time, even I think that maybe my healing is done, you realize that there's more work to be done. So, and they just pop back up, little small things here and there to get us back on the healing path, and I don't know if the healing journey, I'm still up in the air about that, whether the healing journey ever ends, but I know that it basically, we have these tools that help us to move quicker through these. That's what it is. We have these tools that we move quicker when these old things come up on us, and we say, oh, there it is again, and we're moving through them in a better way. So with that, any questions, please, guys, leave comments. I would love to answer any questions, respond to any comments. If anybody ever wants to, like I said, do some Reiki with me, I got some business cards here, which I've posted before on Facebook, and I would love to do Reiki with you. I would love to do energy healing with you. I have crystals over here and sound bowls, things that are just so amazing to use, during energy healings, and I just love it, because it is so healing, and it is so shifting, So, guys, thank you so much. Like I said, reach out to me with any questions. I don't know if I need to edit this at all, but I'll take a look at it. I hope I did a good job here in trying to talk about grief and talk about just about what it's doing in our lives, you know. And like I said, I hope I didn't, you know, say anything about anybody's grieving, because it's not about, you know, how you grieve personally, or there's nothing wrong with it. But again, it's really about, you know, it's about the love. It's about the love and the peace and the calm, and just, and it's that flow state, just flowing like the river, and we're in a flow state. And that river, when it's flowing, yes, it does hit banks, and it does have some rough waters, it has some calm waters, but that's what our experience is about. It's just about flow state and realizing that things happen, and that we just gotta keep on going and keep on flowing, uh, because this is what it's all about. Okay, guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Take care. Much love. Bye.